So in this video, y'all, I want to talk about the Un-American Americans, right? Now, I'm going to get into that term, the Un-American Americans. But as we enter into election season, November is not too far away, we have watched what our current president, 45, is doing. And his tactic he's going to choose to use for this election is by using this pandemic and the mail-in vote that people are, that states are requesting, and try to basically defund the post office, because he know most of the mail-in ballots are going to come through the post office. Because states are only trying to do what's right and protect the citizens of each state, basically keeping them out of election lines and having them choose a safer route by, mailing in a ballot. Now it's funny because Donald Trump has choose this lane to go in, because in a normal season that we'll be going through, a normal election season, the numbers show that Republicans typically vote by mail more than Democrats usually do. So Donald Trump, in all honesty, is suppressing his own vote, which is, he's an idiot because he don't know, but he's suppressing his own vote. But he's trying to basically suppress votes by choosing a postmaster general who is a Republican operative, who is a Donald Trump campaign donor, who's a $1 billion guy that's basically off the streets, and put him into a major position, which that postmaster general position is usually goes to someone who's coming through the ranks of the post office, not somebody just that you think is a loyal person to you and you just want to put in that position. No, that's somebody through the ranks that typically go into that position. Now, the Un-American American, right? I've seen many times before that people are called un-American and they should leave this country if they stand up against the injustice of this country. Basically, if they have anything to say about status quo, you are un-American and you shouldn't be here. If you want to say anything about status quo, then what do we know about status quo? Status quo is what the oppressors has set up, and the status quo has always lived down to the actual values and the standard that America say she is on paper, right? So on one hand, you may have African Americans hooting and shouting about police brutality and all the injustice in our communities and not the funding that we're getting in our community. And now we're called un-American because things are not fair for us in this community, in this country, right? But then on the other hand, you have politicians trying to rig elections for them, but no one says they're un-American. Part of this democracy is free and fair elections, right? Part of this democracy, the Constitution, guarantees everybody the right to vote, right? But when these folks on this side try to rig the elections in the favor for them, no one calls them un-American, which I think is about one of the most un-American things, period, because part of a democracy is that the people choose their elected officials, right? Now, in 2010, when Republicans redrew district lines, they targeted African-American communities with surgical precision. That was said by a North Carolina federal judge with surgical precision, to where people are not choosing their elected officials. Elected officials are choosing the people that they vote for. So you may have an African-American community, and then you may have on the outskirts a white community, right? And they dissect the African-American community to group them in with a majority of a white community. So now the lines are redrawn. African-American vote, or their voice, is heard less, because now they redrew the district lines, and the African-American community in the city is dissected so much, right? So it's basically voter suppression. But North Carolina judge said surgical precision, they target the African-American communities. How is that fair? Now, the Supreme Court has basically dismantled the Voting Rights Act, and once they did that, that's when all that the redrawing of these districts happened, and Republicans did what they did. But the un-American Americans, right? The folks who try to uphold the status quo that has always lived down to the standards of America. But on one hand, you have people that want America to be what it says on paper or even higher. You call those folks un-American because they challenge status quo. And everybody knows status quo is not living up to the standards of what America has said it is. So that's a little crash course on the un-American Americans. I literally just thought about that term and I wanted to put it in the video. So there it is.